All right, welcome in to this show, which I have not determined what I'm going to call it yet. For those of you that have been following, my name is Rob Sanders. I worked at one spot for a good period of time. I do stuff with our buddy Carolina Jackpot, who I am streaming on his channel now. In addition to my Twitter page at Rob Sounds Good, you should follow me there on Twitter. But I decided that after some prodding by some folks, including one person that sent me the following message, we will not out this person, but I want to read it exactly as it came back to me. The message says, "Get back on at 3, fucker." That's the message that I got from someone that apparently likes the show, but wants to call me a fucker and tell me, all right, get your shit together. So I've decided that I'm going to do some shows here a little bit here and there, just to see if I can get some folks actually paying attention to them. I don't know. I know that the show that I did before, I had plenty of folks that were that listened to the program and were calling in. You'll have that opportunity here in a moment. Don't worry. Still kind of the show of the people. I don't just say that just to say it. Like some people say that because they want you to think, oh, you're a big part of the show. They want you to kind of feel that way, but in all actuality, it's all about their ego and how they want to, try to build themselves. It's not about that. I am of the opinion that if you're going to do a any kind of online content show, it is about community. And it's about the people that listen to your show just as much as it is about you. So anyway, getting that out there. All right, so Zona says, some comments from online. Zona Tucson 93 says he likes my studio better here at the Sanders house. So as you can see, there is a booth painting behind me that is, I think we got that like when my wife and I got married. There's also these lights that hang up there that had something to do with my wife. She hangs those up there. I don't know what the hell those are. There's a picture of my daughter over that way. So yeah, it is a little more homely. But anyway, if you want to support the show, make it easy for you. I'm not going to sit here and beg for I don't know what the term is I want to use with this. But basically what it boils down to is that if you like the show and you want to tip the show, it's very simple. There you go. Support the show on PayPal. There's my PayPal address, Cash App, and Venmo. If you like what I'm doing here, it motivates me to come back because I actually think people give a shit. So there you go. Anyway, so I got to start today with the fact that Clemson has to make a decision here, and they should have made it like yesterday that they need to completely head out of the ACC. The ACC, I am wearing this hat today that I got for covering, I think it was Operation Basketball for the ACC. They gave me an ACC network hat. Oh no, this was when they launched it, and it was the football season before, right when they launched it for football season. So they gave everybody that came there got a ACC network hat. This is going to be an antique because, in my opinion, the ACC as we know it is a floating shithole. We've talked about that before. That term we use that here lovingly on the show, especially with stuff I do with my buddy Carolina Jackpot, who, by the way, is the best damn Gamecock YouTuber on the planet. So anyway, but the ACC is a floating shithole, and I'll tell you why. Let's alleviate some things here first. Everything that I'm talking about today hinges on college football, and I'll tell you why. College football is the biggest moneymaker for most major universities. It's not even close. I did some research on this, and here's how it breaks down. College football, in a roundabout way, by several different sites that I looked at, it's about $31 million a year on average for schools. Now, that's just an average. I know that in certain conferences, you're going to make more money, and we'll get to that momentarily. We'll get to that momentarily. The second major revenue sport is college basketball, and it brings $8 million a year on average for most schools. All right. Now, these are roundabout numbers. All right. I know that some schools don't make that money, but we're using this as just something that we can throw up on the wall here and it'll stick a little bit. All right. Do you know what the third major revenue sport is as far as college athletics? Yeah, think about that for a second. All of college athletics, you've got college football, college basketball. What do you think is, and by the way, men's basketball, let's make sure we put that out there because the other sports aren't revenue drawing. The third best sport as far as revenue goes is college hockey. That is not an exaggeration, brings in about $2.5 million per school. College baseball is after that, 1.25 million. Then after that, it goes down to track and field and everything else as far as revenue that is made by each school. Now, I say that I give you that because everything hinges on college football. Most of you that watch this program, you're big college football folks, and that's great. But it comes back down to this. It's not going to be long before FSU, Miami, and Clemson. And if you're serious about being a college football program, you're going to look to two conferences, in my opinion. Right now, it's the SEC and the Big Ten. The Big Ten is made the big move, getting Southern Cal and what was it, UCLA, to get into the mix there. Southern Cal and UCLA, as I'm losing my stuff here. Hold on. I've lost all of my notes. Anyway, yeah, UCLA and Southern Cal decided, hey, we're going to leave for the Big Ten. And I think that things are going to continue to go that way. And I think we're going to end up with two 20-team conferences. And the big reason why is it comes down to math. The Big Ten is going to set itself up where they're going to have $100 million payouts for all of the teams in the Big Ten. $100 million. All right. The SEC, once they sign their new contract, it's likely going to be more than that. There's going to be more money that's there. Clemson's payout from from the ACC is $35 million a season. So let's just think about that for a second. If I stay in the SEC or if I stay in the ACC or if I go to the SEC or the Big Ten, I'm going to make about $65 million more. Think about that for a second. Now, the ACC is claiming they can expect to pull around 60 million by 2029. You're still 40 million off. What's $40 million between friends, right? But it comes back down to this. If you're getting that much money from the SEC and the Big Ten, you think their facilities aren't going to be better? You think that they're not going to have the capability to put together better stuff? It's just the way it is. Money runs everything. It's just across the board. Now, these moves I mentioned that it affects football is the big driving force behind it, but in reality, when you look at the SEC, they're eventually, I think it's going to come down to they're going to be able to offer full scholarships to everyone that plays college baseball. They're what, 11 scholarships right now? They're going to have the money that they can do that because they're going to get all the TV money. Because in the end, that's where ESPN is going to go. So it's not like the ACC is going to be able to command a new TV deal before 2036, which is when their contract with ESPN expires. The ESPN's not going to be like, hey, that's great. You've got you're 14 years of behind where the Big Ten and the SEC are. So we're going to give you some more money and just make you more financially viable. And by the way, we're going to support you and your tiny little schools that you have there that in reality, they want to be basketball schools. Hello, North Carolina. Hello, Duke. They don't really care about football. They can say they do, but in reality, they don't. They really don't. Now, what can Clemson do right now? They can sit tight and do nothing. I call that the bitch approach. Yeah. Sit back, be a bitch, take whatever comes your way. It's probably not going to work. They can do other things here, Like someone's calling me right now, and I don't even know who this is. Should I answer the phone? I'm just gonna tell them I will call you later. We'll get with that. Anyway, you could sit tight, do nothing, the bitch move. You can also wait for Notre Dame to join the ACC, which in my opinion is fool's gold. The Irish don't have to pay any money on the football front to go, and I mean there is some stuff where they have to join the ACC. I get that, but they don't have the financial responsibility that Clemson has to the ACC, which by the way would be $50 million. That's the buyout from some stuff that I've come across. So think about that for a second. It's 50 million to get out, but you're going to make 100 million if you go to the Big Ten. You'll make it all up in one season, basically. The math just works. All right. But what Clemson should do is call the SEC or the Big Ten yesterday and get in the mix with one of those two. They're on the forefront of what is, in the matter of the old Brock Lesnar, the next big thing. If you don't do that, you're going to be left behind because it comes down to money. It's just the way that it is. SEC Dog says if ACC only pays out 30 million, why would Notre Dame join? Why would anyone join? Look, I'm just telling you what the math is now compared to what it's going to be later on. 60 million later on. Okay? The ACC is going to become a conference that has because I think that Clemson, Virginia Tech, Miami, and Florida State are all going to leave. And maybe NC State too. We shall see upon that. But here's what I've done. I put together some conferences here, and I basically did. Let's see here. Yeah, make sure I've got my notes right. So here's what I did. I put together what I think two 20-team conferences will look like. And because of the sake or for the sake of geography, I put Clemson into the SEC along with some other schools. Let me give these to you right quick, and we'll go from there. I call it the SEC Southwest, basically. And in that division, you're going to have Arkansas, Mizzou, Oklahoma, Texas, and Texas A&M. In the Central Division, Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State. Man, that is a tough ass division there. When I put it together, I just cringed just a little bit. Just a little bit. Comment from Big Barney Ross. Notre Dame should have to play all Friday night games until they join a conference. Well, that's another thing that we'll get into momentarily. I set these up in divisions, and then there could be pods, Jacob Watson. All right. And it's just kind of the way that I set it up. And I think that all these teams will play each other within these pods. All right. So in the Central Division, Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State. In the Eastern Division, you've got Clemson, Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. Peg and Megan with the comment, Rob, you're like a case of herpes. Every time we think we've finally gotten rid of you, there you are. Big Barney Ross says, do away with all Friday night games. Yeah, appreciate that. By the way, if you want to support the show, I appreciate the super chats, but the easiest way where we don't get raked over the coals is right here. Support the show on PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. All right. Anyway, so with that, and Jacob's right, there may not be any division. I just put these together just for the show today. In the Coastal Division, I've got Florida, Florida State, Miami, South Carolina, and Virginia Tech. The reason that I put these divisions together is because I think those teams will play each other every season. It's sort of like a pod type system. All right. Just the way that it is. All right. Then we move to the Big Ten. The Big Ten sets up with the Pacific Division of Oregon, Stanford, UCLA, Southern Cal, and Washington. Basically, the teams from the Pac-12 that they want that no one else gives a shit about. That's kind of the way that rolls, in my opinion. Then you're going to have your Midwest Division. You've got Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, Northwestern, Wisconsin. Then you have your North Division. Remember what is the NFC North? No, this is the Big Ten North. Illinois, Indiana, Notre Dame, Penn State, and Purdue. And then in the Big Ten East, you've got Maryland, Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, and Rutgers. All right. Now, this is just stuff that I've thrown on the wall. And I know some people are going to be like, man, Rob, how did you come about this? A lot of it was geographical stuff that apparently some people just don't care about. But here's the other thing that's in the mix. Remember, I said everything comes back down to football? I truly believe that. There are some teams on here that, in my opinion, I'm not sure that they don't really care about football. Daddy O's got a great point. Clemson wouldn't bring any additional TV market revenue to the table. That's why it was kind of, I had to think about it for a second. They could bring more stuff, more eyes to the Big Ten, because the Big Ten doesn't have a team that's that far south. Could be that too. But for the sake of this, I put them in the SEC. All right. But there's also some teams that are in the mix here that really don't bring you much in the area of football. Vanderbilt is one of them. What does Vanderbilt bring on the football front? Nothing. You know what they do? They collect that SEC check every year. They are literally a program that just feeds off of that SEC money. If you're a Vanderbilt fan, I'm sorry. There's not much I can do to help you with that. You can also look at other schools. You could talk about what was the other school that I had in the mix here that that are kind of in the, you could kind of say, okay. I think Kentucky up until about 5 years ago, you could have said, all right, the Wildcats, okay, maybe not. But I think that, oh, and Washington. Washington has a very, very small stadium. And I don't really think there's a lot of people that just really are Washington supporters. So there's that. It's not really a brand when you think about football. You don't think Vanderbilt is a brand like, hey, we're all going to go to a Vanderbilt game. Duke did not make the list here, Jimmy. Via Brett McMurphy, and I haven't had a chance to research this, but he says Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, Virginia, and possibly Oklahoma State to the SEC. So, yeah. Big Barney Ross says Dan Mullen has accepted an offer to appear on Dances with the Stars and will not be coaching this season. And the Jacob Watson says the facts are, Rob, is that Vanderbilt was good enough to join the SEC in 1932, and that's all that matters. Look, I'm just saying when it comes down to, if I am the SEC commissioner and I know that I can only have 20 teams in my conference, and I have the capability to go out and get a Florida State or a Miami, and I have to drop one team from my league there. I've already committed to Texas and Oklahoma. Vanderbilt's going to be the first one to go. And I think it's going to be what the Big Ten will pick up their two coastal schools in 2024. 2025, the SEC will have Oklahoma and Texas. By 2026, it's all going to be downhill. Frank Rizzo says, bring in a North Carolina team to the SEC. Yes, I agree with you on that to an extent, but who do you take out? Who do you take out? You can make an argument that it's Virginia Tech. I just threw Virginia Tech into the mix there. You could say put North Carolina in. Why not? Why not? All right, final thing before I go to phone calls really quick here. And as I said, support the show right there. PayPal, Cash App, Venmo. But here is something else that I wanted to get into today. Everybody remember this?
There is no $30 million fund. There is no $5 million. There is no 10. This is garbage. Okay.
Yeah, garbage.
And it does. It pisses me off that people, and here it comes from a site called Bro Bible by a guy named Sliced Bread. Then everybody runs with it. So it's written on the internet as gospel. How irresponsible is that? And then to have coaches in our league and across this league say it, clown acts.
All right. So that, of course, is Jimbo Fisher. And Jimbo Fisher talking about basically NIL. None of that really matters. He went toe to toe with Nick Saban. And up until last year, it was the best fight that he had against Nick Saban, to be completely honest with you. And I'll tell you what, there were a lot of people that were like, all right, maybe Jimbo Fisher has a point. But then we have this. Oh my goodness. Here we go. And this is a staffer from the wonderful Texas A&M folks.
Y'all getting a lot of money from these people behind these suites. Y'all decided to go play.
So yeah, y'all getting a lot of money from the people behind these suites if you decide to come and play here. Yeah, doesn't really look too well when it comes to that. All right, so there's that. Jimbo Fisher, we'll see. SEC Dog says, Rob, didn't Dumbo promise players money before they signed? I don't know who Dumbo is. Dumbo the elephant didn't promise anybody anything as far as I know. All he has is big ears. I don't really know what you're talking about, but anyway. I think SEC Dog is talking about Dabo, but he may be talking about Jimbo. I don't know. All right, so there's a way to help out the show. If you want to see it every day, let me know. You can send send a tip to the show there. But as I said, I want to open up the phone lines. And how do we do that? There you go. Call the show now, 803-470-2905, 803-470-2905, and we'll take your calls. What do you think of what I put out there about my divisions? Do you think that Vanderbilt would be a team that you look at and you're like, you know what? Thanks for playing. We're not doing baseball here. Oh, okay. He's talking about Jimbo the Clown. Yeah. Look, he really got hit in the face with all that. And then that comes out. Why wasn't he running to the the press conference, the emergency press conference? Why didn't that happen? I mean, I fired that guy because he's full of shit. That's what he should have done. I mean, because remember, he did say this.
There is no $30 million fund. There is no $5 million. There is no 10. This is garbage.
Garbage. Okay, well, if it's garbage, then why is your guy saying it there, Jimbo? Why is your guy saying it? All right, 803-470-2905, 803-470-2905. You think Clemson should leave the ACC? I think they should, and they should take some folks with them. I really believe that. 803-470-2905, 803-470-2905. If you would like to join the program today. And some comments here. Let's see here. A&M has everything wrong with the future of college football. Nobody likes seeing all those junior ROTC nerds in the stands sipping Frescas. Jay off the top rope. Maybe the Pac-12 could get Nevada, Utah State, Fresno State, Boise State, and Hawaii. Yeah. By the way, the whole idea of the Rose Bowl now, remember growing up as kids, Pac-12 versus Big Ten. Yeah, that's kind of gone to shit now. We're not going to have that anymore. And by the way, the whole adage of this whole conference superiority thing that's out there, that's kind of going to go to shit too. So, yeah. Jay says, Rob, have you been conditioning yourself to work through ad breaks? Yeah, okay, Jay. You're funny, Jay. Very, very good. Tim says that's because the fund is actually 80 to 100 million. Jimbo technically did not lie. Good point, sir. Good point. Red with a good comment. Outside of 20 or 30 teams in D1 college football, all the other 100 teams suck. Papa B says, would Baylor, Texas Tech, TCU leave for the Pac-12? Look, you might be right about that. That might happen too. And we may get to a point where you have 4 teams with 16 teams in each league. I don't know. But in my opinion, right now, I think it comes down to Clemson and Florida State and Miami. They need to say, you know what? We are going to take our stuff and we're going to go home. We're going to get out of here. This isn't going to work for us. We'll pay you your $50 million, and on the way out, hey, you guys can welcome in East Carolina and insert whoever here into our spot. Because as of right now, it just doesn't work. All right, 803-470-2905, 803-470-2905. That's the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the program. As I'm doing my first little show here from the house. You guys are welcome to join us there. And I'll read some of your comments that are over there too. Man, this doesn't look good for Jimbo Fisher with that. Oh my goodness. When I mean, I read a piece of it last night, but then actually saw the clip today and I was like, everything that he said didn't really work. Papa B says, do you think the Miami game day atmosphere is SEC caliber? No, I really don't. Big Barty Ross says the SEC will eat more Tide Pods than any other conference. Yeah. Well, and look, to be honest with you, I think that even the average SEC homer, the folks with the lower back tattoos that we've talked about before, they will tell you, look, we'd love to have, I think they would love to have Clemson in their league. Why not? Wouldn't you love to have Clemson, Florida State? Think about it. Why not? Why not put that into the mix? Welcome into the program. Good afternoon.
Rob, is it possible that your little time away caused you to somehow get smarter all of a sudden?
Well, I don't know. I've been playing golf with the daughter. Maybe that helps.
I don't know. Maybe just a change of scenery knocks something loose there. Of course, Clemson should leave the ACC.
Yeah, well,
there's only so much room in those YMCA parking lots, for one thing.
Well, the funny thing is that when you look at the ACC as far as stadiums go, they've got, I think, 3 of the smallest stadiums in the country. There's that in the mix too, but it just, we goof a lot, but it comes down to just math. You're going to make 3 times more money going somewhere else. Of course you're going to go.
Yeah, it's all kidding aside, man. It's like everything just got thrown into a blender with this last deal, and it's just like no one knows which way is up right now. And I'm fearful that gigantic money is eventually going to ruin this sport. Maybe that's the old man in me, but I've seen it happen to other sports like NASCAR, for one. Not saying that football is NASCAR, but still, when you get that much of an influx of new money into something, it just tends to ruin things. So. And let's not kid ourselves. That's what this is about. The TV contracts and the huge money.
Right.
They're going to have, and for all of the talk about actually caring about the student athlete, there's other people who say geography doesn't matter anymore. Tell that to the softball player at USC who's going to be going to play Penn State, and then has a final, whatever it is, the next day or the next. That's one thing to say it, but when you're actually living it, I'm telling you, they're making excuses to bring in more money here. It's a shame to me, and I'm afraid they're going to kill off lesser football programs.
The one thing we all love lesser. What I mean by that, are you talking about teams that are on the level of, like, I use East Carolina, but teams that are like that? Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah, and even maybe a notch above that. There's certain Saturdays where a Vanderbilt does beat a Florida, and we all love it. We all love it, and that may be going to be a thing in the past. If they're just if they can't stay afloat with the big boys, what do they do?
Well, and here's the thing too, and I mentioned Vanderbilt, and it seems like I'm picking on the smart kids, but we all agree it comes back down to football. What do they bring on a football front to the SEC? Nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely
That's what I mean.
Nothing. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's
just like in the cutthroat world of business. If you've got a salesman out there that you're paying X amount of money and he's just not bringing in anything, you cut him. You let him go.
Yeah. That's the way that it is, man. It's you follow the money to everything. And they're going to be able to get, the round number is, if you're in the Big Ten, they're trying to push where they're going to be able to give $100 million to each school. Clemson got $35 million from the ACC last year. I'll take the $50 million hit for 1 year to pay my exit fee. And you know what? I could probably negotiate with the conference to pay a piece of that. And then, then they're in that conference, and then they're going to be making twice as much money, 3 times as much money the following year. I mean, it's
Right.
just math. They've got to do it.
Yeah. I will touch on the video that you showed there a second ago.
Yeah.
That all that video tells me is that Sliced Bread learned how to edit. I think that's a fake video. I don't think Jimbo would have anybody on his staff who would say something like that. Anybody can learn a few tricks of the trade and edit videos to make people seem like they say something they didn't. Like when it happens in politics all the time. Like when Kamala Harris said that 220 million Americans died of COVID. Well, that's a bad example. I think she actually said that. But there are. You get the point. There are cases that he clearly didn't say that. That was a fake video.
You think that's fake? Okay. I mean,
I know it.
This is some X-Files bullshit. I mean, are you going to come at me now with Area 51 stuff and the CIA killed Kennedy? I mean, what else are you going to come at me with today?
Look, Jimbo is a saint and a genius, and some people can't handle that.
Okay.
So clearly they have to make up videos and just defile someone's reputation who's trying to do something the right way. He's not a liar. He's not a liar. He's not a cheater, and he's not a liar, Rob.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, fine. You know, the reality here's the funny thing. I could go back and forth with you on this, but it's kind of hard to call him a liar when he said there is no 30 million. That's because there was probably 70 million. So technically, he wasn't lying. You're right. You're absolutely right, sir.
Well,
he was not lying.
That was the other thing that I was going to say. Let's say that this was legit, that video was real.
Right.
What did he say that was technically wrong?
You know, if I were you and I were trying to to throw that video away, I would just come out and say, he's talking about the fact that those are boosters back there that help pay for your scholarship to go here so you can get your wonderful degree from Texas A&M. That's what you should have came with today. I was hoping that's where you were going to go, but maybe you had something happen to you today that you lost something.
Yeah, you don't always get sensible Peg and Megan. You know that.
No, but I mean, if you watch that video, if you're a Texas A&M fan, you could literally say that. He was talking about the fact that, they're going to, the money that he's talking about, he's just talking about, hey, you're going to have great facilities and they're going to pay for your, for the education and all that. So you get a degree from Texas A&M. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, get a little spin control going on. He left it kind of vague. You're all right. So you could run with anything.
That's what I'm saying. You could put that out there.
Yeah.
I mean, and then Jimbo Fisher didn't go to the press conference table, so maybe he feels that way as well. Who knows?
Yeah.
But,
all right, Rob. Well, enjoy the show.
All right, man. I appreciate it as always. Thank you, sir. All right. 803-470. Oh, yeah. I forgot. Thank you. 803-470-2905. 803-470-2905. Ah, man. Poor. That news about Jimbo Fisher really hit Peg and Megan there in the nutsack. He did not want that. All right, so I talk a lot of sports here, but there's one other story that was out there that I wanted to mention. And now that I don't have I don't have any, I can talk about whatever the hell I want. So there's a story that a woman got upset because she has 4 children. And the 4 of the 4 children, one of those they have different baby fathers. There you go. Baby daddy, whatever it is you want to call it. And apparently the youngest kid was a man that she dated at one point, and he came to the house and he brought the his one child some McDonald's food, but didn't bring McDonald's food for the other 3 children. This woman went online and lit this guy up like a Christmas tree. I just wanted to throw that out there. It's one of those crazy, silly stories where she blistered this guy. And the best part, go and Google this story. People came back and smacked her around. It was actually kind of funny. Anyway, love that stuff too. 803-470-2905. 803-470-2905. Kirby's Visor says Big Ten is following the leader. SEC second to none. Okay. Yeah, well, he's right about that. Because if I am the Big Ten and I want to expand my TV markets, why not go out there and get some teams from the from California? As far as media markets go, you're right there in the mix with getting into LA. Yeah, makes sense. Welcome into the program. Good afternoon. Hello.
Yes, Big Bart Ross. I just wanted to call in and express how excited I am for this upcoming season because it's going to be better than it's ever been. And as a Kentucky fan, you know how we are about referees. We'll complain about anything. You know, we've already got a built-in excuse. Well, they didn't like us, and they put us in the wrong. You know, how much pressure do you think's on Tennessee's head coach to perform this year? Do you think if they underachieve a little bit, it's going to be gimmick this, gimmick that, our will to live is gone? I'm all for this, and I don't really care what big money does because, you know, I'm a barbecue bourbon drinking guy. I just want to watch sports. I want to watch LSU crush Tennessee, and that way we can get all the trash we can possibly shove into one gimmick. Mimi, think about that, Big Barney Ross. I'm out.
Big Barney Ross making some good points there, but I'm in the I'm in the camp that Tennessee's coach has got to. He's got. I think they're expecting. I think the average Vols fan, the fan that, well, let's say the hardcore Vols fan is probably thinking, you know what? If we win 8 games this year, and we lose to what, Georgia, we lose to Alabama. Who else is on their schedule? I can't remember Tennessee's full schedule there, but if they go 8-4, that's a pretty good season there for Josh Heupel. Gives him a more opportunity to go out and get some more guys to help fill in some holes there. Okay. But I think that when it comes down to it, though, there's going to be the fan that only shows up from, right at SEC media days and they leave after Thanksgiving. Those fans, they're going to be the ones that are like, well, look what we did last year. We got fucked out of a win by Purdue. Yeah, the referee screwed us. That set of fans that really don't know much about football and they don't understand that, yeah, you can have a great an overachieving season, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be great the following season. Those fans are going to expect Tennessee to go 10-2. Those are the same fans that are going to tell you, you know what? If we square up with Alabama, we might have a chance. There are those fans that can do that. And those are the silly fans. Those are the absolute silly fans. All right, 803-470-2905. The way to support the show is right there. I haven't checked my PayPal account yet, or the Cash App account, or the Venmo account. I appreciate anyone that does send a tip to the show there. You guys are awesome. Motivates me to come back and do some more shows. So with that, I if you guys really like me doing this show, I'm not saying you have to tip the show, but just comment in the section. Let me know that it's worth my while to hook up this stuff and knock everything out. Yeah, because doing this stuff is, I don't mind. I mean, I have a passion for this, but I don't want to do it if it's just like, flat. You know what I mean? Oh, Peg and Megan did said something about Rob. What do you think about Billy Napier's letter? The letter basically he sent to the Florida fans, where he's penning open letters in June. What a shitty way for that to be. When you really stop and think about it, you don't want your head coach putting out those kind of letters at all. It's not good. Not good. I think he's seeing that someone said Hollywood died. I don't know if Hollywood died or not. I don't know about that, Jay. But we shall see on that. I don't know. I haven't heard from him. But anyway. Oh, you did? Jay said he sent me his obituary. Really? Are you serious, Jay? I don't know about that. If you sent me his obituary, I don't remember getting it. I don't know. We'll have to see about that. Anyway, yeah, but him sending out stuff, basically, I think he sees that there's a problem down there, and he doesn't have the athletes to compete, and on the level that he thought he was going to have down at Florida. And I think he's putting some stuff out there, Man, you floored me with the Hollywood stuff. I didn't know that he passed away. If you got that obituary, let me know. Anyway, but yeah, I think he's having to deal with that, and that's a problem. Jimmy says, "What do you think about Shane Beamer's recruiting momentum?" Um, I think he's done very well in the transfer portal. Okay, but on the other hand, their recruiting class for next season is not exactly where it needs to be right now. They're going to get some guys there though, and Shane Beamer is selling this beacon of positivity with the South Carolina program, and he's going to have the capability of, first of all, they're already in the SEC. So they're going to be in one of those, what I think are going to eventually be the two major conferences, which means they are going to have tons of money for recruiting facilities, etc. It's not like they're sitting in the Pac-12 and they're Utah right now. Okay. If you go down to Williams-Brice Stadium, we goof about it, but it is what, 80 something thousand fans. And they're down there, whether the Gamecocks are 1-10 or 10-1. I mean, seriously. The fact that South Carolina is not better than they are is weird. They've got the fan base, they've got people that want to put money behind it. You can make an argument, okay, it's tough to recruit when you've got Clemson in the upstate, Georgia right there in your recruiting footprint, and North Carolina has done really well in the recruiting process with Mac Brown. But in the end, South Carolina should be more competitive than they have been here lately. We can blame a lot of that on Will Muschamp. We can do that. But in the end, he had top 20 recruiting classes. Maybe he didn't develop them the way that he should have. But with the players that South Carolina's gotten, they should be a little bit better than what they are. And Shane Beamer, in my opinion, is the kind of coach that he really does have the potential to do some really good stuff with them if things fall into place. They really, really do. Oh, Pegan Megan said something about Dabo Sweeney and Clemson doing getting a lot more recruiting in June, basically. And they're flexing their muscles a little bit. He's right. Dabo changed some stuff up. He opened up and did, I think it's where they were accepting official visits in June now instead of later on. And I think that that's why Clemson's gotten a lot of these big players that have come through there. But, we can talk a lot about Clemson, by the way. And I'll throw this out there too with Clemson. If Clemson gets into and they get into this 20-team super conference, whether it's the SEC or the Big Ten, one of the areas that Clemson is going to have to improve on the recruiting front is where they've gone this year. They really need to get better as far as the offensive line. They don't really get guys that are, knock them down, knock them out of their shoes players like Georgia gets or Alabama gets. Seriously. That's one of the areas where Clemson needs to recruit and get better. All the other spots, Clemson gets good quarterbacks, wide receivers, running back. They get all of that. On the defensive side of the ball, the secondary, they've got great guys there. The defensive line is probably going to be the best in the country this year. And yes, we can talk about that too as we roll along here. But the reality is that Clemson, that's the area they really need to improve is on the offensive line. Shout out to Billy who had a knee replacement surgery. Get better, sir. Holy shit. We need that. Man. I mean, you wore out. I mean, you're 86 years old and you finally wore out that knee. You better get better with all that, all right? All right, 803-470-2905. Hope you guys have enjoyed what I put together today. I wrote this stuff last night with the big divisions there. I think we may get to a point where, let's say that we have 4 conferences with 16 teams in them. I thought about that too. You're going to have to tell some of these teams to go away. And we may have to have a cut list where certain teams that are in conferences now, one of those conferences is going to go away. it's most likely looking like the Pac-12. Okay, but if we had the 4 teams or 4 conferences with 16 teams in them, all right, let's say that we ended up with that. You're going to end up with some of these teams are going to have to go somewhere else. So there's that. And I think one of them, when it hinges down to it, Vanderbilt's right there in the mix. You've also got some other schools that have very, very small stadiums that aren't very accommodating as far as the big college football front. Boston College is in the mix there. You can make an argument for, I said, Vanderbilt's right there too. Washington State with Martin Stadium. That stadium only holds 35,000 people. Think about that for a second. The Colonial Life Arena holds 22,000 for basketball. They put 35,000 in there for a football game. Just throwing that out there. That's not good at all. Wallace Wade Stadium at Duke. The best part about that stadium is up until like 5 years ago, maybe it was 10 years ago. We have the whole thing with was it 10 years ago? They like if you played a game there, you had to walk across the street to get to the locker room. So that. Jacob says, read my comment. What comment are you talking about, Jacob? Teams can't get kicked out of a conference after Temple got kicked out of the Big East. Teams have protection rights now. Yeah, they have protection rights, but the reality, it comes back down to this. They can pay them to go away. I mean, no one thought that Texas and Oklahoma would be in the SEC. When the college football landscape changes, if you don't bring anything to the table, they can boot you. They will figure out a way to do it. They will pay you to get out of their conference. Okay? And if I'm the SEC and you SEC fans over there, you can if I came to you and said, "Look, you're going to have to give Vanderbilt $40 million to go away. But once you get rid of Vanderbilt, you're going to get either Florida State, Miami, or Clemson, one of those 3. You're going to get one of those 3. It's going to cost the conference $40 million, but you're going to get one of those 3. They would do it in a heartbeat. Papa B says, do you think adding Texas, Oklahoma, and maybe more help teams like Ole Miss and South Carolina? Possibly. But here's the other thing, too. If you have the 40 teams in that in 2 super conferences with 40 teams, all right, those teams are going to have the edge on recruiting. And because everyone's going to want to play in those 2 super conferences, you only have so many scholarships there. Now, they may break away from the NCAA. That's the other thing that comes about too. The idea of scholarship limits and things like that, they may go away, but you can sign all the kids that you want, but there's only so much space on the football field. Those 40 teams will have the absolute best talent, and you're going to have the best players or the best rated players all right there. And that's going to happen. Now, you're going to get guys that'll fly under the radar a little bit, and they may end up playing for a team that's left out. But the reality is they're going to have the best players in playing for those spots to play for the national title right there. All right. Alan says Vandy has the Nashville market, though. It's booming. Okay. Appreciate that. Visor, we would have to get a private school like Miami to replace them. You know, Jay, I kind of agree with you on that to an extent, but I mean, that all may go away. They may you got to think about this. It's completely outside of the box now. I think they're going to establish their own rules and have their own 40-team league that just has these 40 teams that I mentioned earlier, and they can do whatever the hell it is that they want. And, you know, the stuff from the past, things like GPA and things like that, none of that matters anymore. I don't think any of that matters anymore. Just a thought. All right, 803-470-2905, 803-470-2905. Jacob says, why would Vanderbilt accept $40 million when they're making more than that every year? Look, I get that, but the conference has to come to them and say, look, you're not working here. Jacob says academics matter. No, they don't. Not with this. They're going to break away from the NCAA. That's just the way that it's going to be. And Billy's right. You guys are what ifing this to death. You're exactly right. But I can tell you that math is important. And the math says Clemson is going to make $35 million from the ACC last season, projected by 2029 to make $60 million from the ACC. They will get $100 million if they're in the Big Ten. They'll get $100 million if they're in the Big Ten. That is a reality. That is going to happen. We know that. Okay? I'm not what ifing that at all. You're taking a $40 million pay cut to stay in the ACC if you're Clemson. You got to go. Every year. Got to go. Peg and Megan with a good point. Everyone ever noticed no one is ever academically ineligible anymore? Good point. Rich says, with streaming services overtaking cable, the TV markets don't matter anymore. Matchups will be what drives the bus. He has a very valid point, too. But I do think with this is kind of an infrastructure thing, the South is the least wired portion of the country. And I don't want to get into the politics of that, but as far as people being able to get on the internet and everything else, it's the least wired portion of the country, is pretty much where, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, etc. And I think that that has a little bit to do with it, but getting those TV markets does make sense. Let's see here. Jacob says North Carolina literally got in trouble. You're thinking about teams being in the NCAA. I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I don't think any of that matters anymore. Jason says he'd rather the SEC pay to get rid of Mizzou. Okay. I mean, you can make an argument. I mean, I guess if you want to go that route, I mean, Mizzou does have 2 SEC East championships. So there's that too. Let's see here. The Big Ten makes TV sense. SEC makes rivalry sense. Guess what one wins? Okay. You can have other rivalries too, Jacob says, you're telling me that I think these teams are breaking away from the ACC. I'm saying that financially, if there is a way for you to leave the ACC right now is the time to do it. That's what I'm saying. The numbers show that is what you need to do. That's what you need to do. It's just math. It's at least a $40 million spot every year. So there's that too. And the NCAA has gone to shit, by the way. It's flaking away. Something we'll talk about here eventually is, I think we're going to have a super conference league there, basically, where I think those 40 teams or 64 teams or whatever the hell you want to go with. Okay. Someone's got to run that conference. We got to figure out who it's going to be. Someone has to be able to, that's something that, I've been thinking about that. You got to have someone that has the satchel that they can walk into Birmingham and tell the president of Alabama, look, we're going to do things this way. And they can walk into Ohio State and tell them the same thing. You have to have somebody with a set of stones that can do that. Peg and Megan says, I agree, Rob. And there are some frantic phone calls going on right now behind the scenes in the ACC. Well, what the hell can they say? What can they possibly say? They can't renegotiate their contract. What else are they going to give to ESPN to give them more money? What they should be doing, if they're making calls, they need to make it to Notre Dame and get Notre Dame in the conference. Add Notre Dame and one other team, whether it could be Oklahoma State. I like West Virginia, but here's a thought. Go and pick at the Big Ten and get Maryland back. Why not? That would make a lot of sense too, to get into that DC market. Rich, friend of the show, says the NFL is national and reaches other countries. These super conferences are the NFL's G League. People can watch from anywhere on any device now. TV markets don't hold their regional value like they used to. Yeah, he's right about that. But you're going to have to pay to watch some of these things on your phone. So, and he says, Jacob says, sorry, Rob, I meant the NCAA, not the ACC. I think teams are going to leave I think these teams are going to play football in their own league. I think that's what's going to happen. Now they may stay in the NCAA for baseball and everything else, but in the end, it's going to come down to we're going to have a pro setup here. That's basically where we're at. It's a pro setup where NIL and the transfer portal are essentially free agency. I don't like what my coach said to me here. My feelings are crushed. I don't like the fact that they shake cowbells at Mississippi State, so I want to go somewhere else. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo, boo-hoo. Those kids are going to leave and get some more money to go somewhere else. That's what it is. We should just accept that. And I know that people are like, oh, Rob, if you don't accept it, then you're not going to enjoy this sport anymore. And I hate to be that cold with you, but in the end, that's what it's going to be. 803-470-2905. Please, can someone over there correct Jacob? They won't be able to operate without the NCAA. I'm sorry. If I have the 20 teams in the SEC that I spoke of, Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, Mizzou, Oklahoma, Texas, Texas A&M, LSU, Mississippi State, Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, all of those teams, do you think that they're not going to be able to figure something out and break away from the NCAA? They'll have the money. Jason says, great to have your show back, Rob. Yes, sir. Thank you. Rich says, NIL contracts will start having verbiage that keeps kids at the school or they risk owing money to get out. Yeah, they have to figure out some stuff with the NIL. The poster child for that is Quinn Ewers. The young man never took a snap at Ohio State and got six figures out of it. And now he's down at Texas. And anybody be surprised if Arch Manning comes in there and runs him out? Could be interesting. Jacob says, no, they're not, Rob. That's crazy. No, what was crazy is Oklahoma and Texas deciding to go to the SEC. If I told you that before in June last year, you would have laughed at me. Texas had their own freaking network, the Longhorn Network. Seriously, they had their own network. And they left all that to go to the SEC. Why? Because they're going to get paid more. It's just the way that it is. 803-470-2905, 803-470-2905. Rich says Arch will redshirt his first year. You're probably right. Probably right on that. All right. So, final call for calls, 803-470-2905. Appreciate you guys checking in here. I'm trying to debate on how many of these I'm going to do. We shall see. And I'm looking for my next radio gig. So we'll have to see how all that works out. But obviously, we're still going to do the Rob and Kale show. That will go on until Jackpot gets tired of it. I'm probably not going to do a show on Monday. It is the 4th of July. I plan on barbecuing something. You guys know my chunky ass needs to eat. I'm picking, but no, we get into that. But barbecuing something on the 4th of July. But I may do a show on Tuesday. We shall see. We're not doing a show on Sunday night with it being the holiday weekend. I might, I don't know. I might do something. I don't know. It just depends. I was really jacked to do this show today simply because I had some great stuff that I just wanted to get out there, and I wanted to share the stuff that I wrote for you last night with my two 20-team super conferences there. So as I said, Tex Tiger says Clemson should have left the ACC when South Carolina did. Oof, there's that. All right. So if you guys like what I did here, please support the show. There's the PayPal, there's the Cash App, there's the Venmo. If you would like to support the show that way, that would be great. Makes me feel like people care. Haha. Kirby's Visor says, "Good luck, Rob. You get that next gig," and I will. I mean, I've had folks calling and chatting with me, so it's gonna happen. I mean, I'm not worried about it. We shall see. Sports Talk with Tom Bailey says, "Please do a show every afternoon. I need to cut out pigging Megan and Uncle Lou as much as be nice to Peg and Megan. Be nice to Uncle Lou. Come on now, they do good shows. Stop it." Jay says, "Rob, nobody smokes for free." Good point. Yeah, I got to make up that barbecue. Yeah. So contribute to the barbecue fund. There's the stuff there. Support the show on PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. Obviously, I'm on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. You can find me on Facebook as well. I don't know when I'm gonna do another show. Maybe Tuesday. Maybe Tuesday. We shall see. All right. Appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you later on.